Right. Hi, welcome to Neuro-Movement with PD Active. My name is Stephanie Comella, and today we're going to continue our exploration of floor-based movement here. I love working on the floor for Parkinson's because it's one, a really safe place to practice movement. Can't really fall off the floor. So I love floor-based movement for that. And then also two, inevitably there will be times that we fall on the floor and gravity takes a hold, but it's more important that we know how to get ourselves around on the floor and up off the floor when that happens. And so that's why I base this class off of is floor mobility, your ability to move around on the floor, and then your ability to get up off the floor with ease or with different strategies, depending on whether or not you have a couch nearby or what stage of the progression of Parkinson's you have right now. So we need ample floor space to make sure you have nice big floor space, probably even wider than what a yoga mat would give you. So push the coffee table out of the way. And then I always recommend having props nearby to support your body in any way that you need them. So pillows work great, throw pillows work great. If you have a yoga bolster, yoga blocks, RX pads, collect your supplies or have a little basket next to where you do your class so that you can easily grab those items. And we're going to keep it pretty basic today since we have a few people coming back after a little bit of a hiatus. So kind of getting the gist of the class. Go ahead and come down to the floor if you haven't already. And let's have you sit in any sort of position on the floor that you have access to right now. So whether that's a cross-legged position or what we call a long sitting position with the legs straight, or if you want to go Z-sit or some sort of combination of some other thing, find a position on the floor that feels comfortable for you, but you're relatively upright. Now, if sitting on the floor just in that way is challenging, we can take a pillow and boost your butt up a little bit, and it'll give your hips a little bit more space. Okay. So whichever position you chose for right now, close your eyes and let's do a little body scan of how this position feels for us. Do you feel your feet on the floor? Do you feel one foot heavier on the floor than the other? What about your pelvis and your hips? Where in your hips where do your hips touch the ground? Is it kind of the back of your pelvis where your tail's tucked under? Or is it more on the forward part of your pelvis where you feel your sit bones on the ground? How do your hips feel? Do they feel relaxed or do you feel like you're holding them? One feel tighter or looser than the other? Maybe give your legs a little wiggle in whatever position you're in just to see, okay, how well can I manipulate my legs just right here? Do you need your hands to prop you up, or can you sit freely without your hands propping on the ground? What does it take to not use your hands to prop? You feel your core muscles working, your lower back working. How does your spine stack up from your pelvis in the seated position? Do you feel slumped? Do you feel straight? Do you feel sideways? Do you feel twisted? Maybe move your spine around a little bit just to explore those different areas. Maybe twisted is actually not so twisted, or maybe straight is actually a little bit twisted. And then, of course, taking a few breaths into your nose and exhaling out through your mouth and noticing the quality of your breath. When you're able to sit up tall and on top of your pelvis, the pressure system inside of your torso works a little bit more efficiently to pump the air in and out of your chest cavity. Great. Okay, so we've logged a couple notes on how we feel just at the beginning of class. Simple act of body awareness helps us understand where our baseline is. And then from our baseline, we can make improvements. Go ahead and lay yourself down on the mat, all the way onto your back, and bring your arms out to the side. And separate your feet about mat width apart. So your feet slightly separated and your arms out to the side. Go ahead and rotate your feet to the right so that your thighs rotate also to the right. And notice how far you can take that energy. And then switch to the other side, rotate the feet to the left and notice how far you can move your thighs to the left. Go ahead and work from right to left. And again, you're getting a little bit of mobility in the hip joint, which is where your thigh and your pelvis connect. And also in your low back, you may get a little bit of rotation in your low back. Good. Go ahead and bring both feet together and both arms up past your ears so that your arms are relatively on the floor, if that feels okay on your shoulders. We're going to slide your feet over to the left and also your shoulders and arms to the left so that if someone were looking at a bird's eye view of you, you'd be making a crescent shape. Okay. Try to keep your right hip down on the ground, even though your limbs have moved to the left. Okay. Swing your legs and arms over to the other side, to the right, so that you're making a crescent shape with the short side on the right and the long side on the left. Go ahead and move through that a few times. Crescent over to one side. I've got my legs and arms to the left, keeping your right hip flat and your right shoulders flat. And then sweep to the other side. This is where sometimes moving just on a carpet without the yoga mat can be helpful, so we don't get stuck. Go ahead and go all the way to the left. Go as far as you can before the hip lifts up. And then take it one step further where your hip will start to lift up and you'll roll onto your left side. And let's come into a fetal position where we clasp our hands together and place your hands underneath your head. See if you can get your elbows and your knees to touch. So you're getting so small that your elbows and knees touch. Shoot the legs out so that you're balancing on your left side and then log roll yourself back onto your back. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So legs go to the right, arms go to the right. So far that you start to roll onto your side and come into a fetal position. Make a like kind of a clasp your hands together. Elbows come down towards your knees and your knees come up. Okay. Shoot the arms and legs out so you're balancing on your right side and then log roll onto your back. Crescent shape over to the left. I'm going to go a little bit quicker now that I broke it down. Roll all the way over and then fetal position, pull in. Take some core to pull into that. Round your low back, make yourself as small as possible. Stretch and extend, roll yourself back onto your back. Crescent over to the right. Fetal position on the right. Shoot out for this is called arrow. Roll onto your back. Let's do that 2 more times. Side bend, use your side obliques here to get your legs and arms to move over. Roll all the way over into fetal position, pull your abs in. That's it. Shoot the arms and legs out, roll onto your back, slide over to the right, crescent roll, fetal position on the right, tuck in. Nice job. Shoot back out into arrow and then roll onto your back. Nice. Go ahead and bring your arms down by your side and bend your knees in so that your feet are flat on the ground. This is called hook lying position, hook lying. We're in a hook lying position, palms facing up. Press your hips up towards the ceiling and adjust yourself so that you're truly standing on top of your shoulders and your toes are free. So I want you to be able to be more on your heels when you're in your bridge. And then articulate your spine coming down. So softening in the ribs, and then rolling one vertebrae at a time on the way back down to the floor. Press yourself up into a full bridge. Good. Make sure that the weight is in your heels today. We're going to roll down through the spine one vertebrae at a time. Trail the tail. You may feel a stretch in your hip flexors and quads at the top or at the bottom of that. Let's go for that again. Bridging up and articulating down. Go ahead and move at your own pace. So super slinky and slow on the way down so that you can take advantage of that stretch opportunity in each of the segments of your spine. Roll on down. Good. 2 more times, pressing up. Roll down. Yep. And last one, press up and roll down. Nicely done. Separate your feet about mat width apart or a bit wider than you already are. Let your knees roll from one side to the other. This is kind of our holding pattern. I love this stretch because it gets the rotation in your hip joint and it also gets rotation in your low back. Things that start to go missing in our gait. Just gonna let everyone into the class. Good. And release. Bring your feet back underneath you. Press your hips up towards the ceiling again. Walk your feet back in a little bit closer together. We're going to bring one leg. So while holding your bridge, bring your right leg into a tabletop position. So now we're in a single leg bridge. If you feel your hamstrings, nice job. Bring that foot back down. Switch to the other side. Left leg in tabletop. Good. And bring it down. We're going to march from right side to left side. Try to limit the drama that happens in between your marches. So how smooth can you make the transition from weight bearing on one leg to the other? You're holding your bridge the whole time. We'll go 3 more times. 2. Very nice. Last one. Articulate the spine down, roll through. Nicely done. Feet are wide, roll your knees right and left. Feet go wide and roll your knees right and left. Bring your feet back to the center, hook line position. Bridging set number 3. This is the last bridging set. I'm going to introduce a final challenge. If it's not appropriate for you today, you can do any of the other bridging options that we've done previously, okay? Press your hips up towards the ceiling, walk your feet in a little bit. I like to place my hands on the front part of my hips so it keeps me accountable and it gives me some tracking of where my hips are in space. Again, perception can be different than reality sometimes. So we go right leg in tabletop. We're going to lower the hips down to the ground while still holding tabletop in the right, and then press your hips up towards the ceiling. Single leg bridge. So we're going down with the hips and then press back up, all while holding that right leg in tabletop. We're going to go for about 4 more. We'll go up. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Bring it down. Right leg replaces in. Articulate down if you're not already there. We'll reset for the other side. Both feet are going to be on the ground. Press the hips up. Walk the feet together if they haven't already. Left leg in tabletop. Drop the hips down and push up. There you go. Drop the hips down and push up. Hold that left leg in tabletop. See if you can hold your hips level. Nice job. We're going to go for about 4 more. 4. How big can you make that bridge? 3. Keep that leg up the whole time. 2. And last one. Nice job. Foot comes down, articulate down, and release. Feet go wide, knees go right and left. Twist. Nice. Stretch out your back. Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and bring both knees in towards your chest. You can grab behind your thighs or on top of your knees. From here, pull on your thighs to lift your head and shoulders off the mat so that you come into a small ball. There you go. And then release back down. So this is upper trunk curl. We're curling up off the ground with our head and shoulders and then release back down. Now, if you don't need to use your hands are just going to come out to the side, curl up for a little trunk curl, and then release back down. Good. A little bit more of a challenge. I'm just going to keep layering in the challenges so you can choose where you want to go with this. We're going to bring the legs together and maybe a little bit further away from your chest so they become a more tabletop position. Good. And then last challenge that I'll offer here would be one or both legs up towards the ceiling with the trunk curl. Okay. So you have lots of options, holding onto your knees, not holding onto your knees, or legs up. So you can be here, also pulling on your knees here. Good. Just a little bit more, 2 more. I know our neck abs are working. Neck abs are working. Ah, beautiful. And release down. From here, we're going to roll through the legs a little bit. So really pull your legs in towards your chest and start to rock through the tail. We're going to make this movement happen more like a rolling like a ball. So it's an action to help us sit up. Good. Now you can use some momentum of your legs to kick, and then because you're holding on to your legs, it will sort of pull your chest up. The more your abs work for you, the less you need your legs. There you go. Nice, team. Good. Rolling like a ball. I love it. 2 more. And then we're going to finish in a seated position. Finish seated. So meet me here any way that you want to get there. Nice job. We're going to let our legs drop off to one side. So we're in a side sit with our legs to the left. Legs to the left. Now, if you need to prop through this hand, no big deal. Use that hand if you need to prop, but I do want the legs sort of casted off to the left side. Side sit. Nice. All right, so we're going to take this right, this is your left side. Here we go. Left arm is going to come up all the way. Your supporting arm is going to bend just a little bit. Maybe the forearm comes all the way to the floor. We're going to push off that forearm and bring ourselves up. Tap the shin. Good. Side stretch over to the side. Inhale, open. Exhale, push through, hands tap your shin. We go up. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Exhale, tap the shin. Now both, if you want to lift up a little bit. Sorry, it's going crazy. Lift up a little bit and side bend, stretch to the other side. That's for you. If that's for you. Otherwise, you're down and you tap. If you can, grab a hold side stretch towards the left. Here we go. Up and over. Inhale, push off, side stretch. Nice. One more time. Up and over. And side stretch. Good. Last one, we're going to bring that prop hand back down. Take that free hand, that left hand, and bring it down to the mat also. Okay, so now we're on both hands. Our legs are to the side, and we're sort of in this twisty position here. Bend your elbows down, bring your chest to the mat, and then push away. Our twisty push-ups. Here we go. Drop down and push up. I want you to get anywhere between 8 and 10. I'm going to say that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Some of you may be done here. 8. Those of you that want 2 more, grab it. 9. And last one, 10. Nice job. From here, grab the floor behind you. So like prop back. Bring your legs out in front. Walk them around to the other side. And then fold them in. So however you want to switch sides. We just switch sides. I gave you a fancy option. If that went over your head, that's all right. Switch sides. All right. So we have our propped hand out to the side. We have our legs kind of on this edge of the mat. We're going to bring the elbow down to the ground and side stretch over the top. See if you can create more space underneath this rib cage and let your ribs expand and flare. Push down through your hand that's floating and tap your thigh. If you want to do the add-on already, go for it. I'm just going to show this option a few more times. So we bend the elbow, push off. There's some triceps that go with that, and tap. Bend, stretch over, and tap. Nice. Bend, stretch over, and tap. Good. Now, if you want to add the add-on side stretch over to the right, go ahead and grab it there. That's the add-on. So we go inhale, and then I do this little cartwheel push off to the other side. Okay, here we go. Couple more. We're going to go 4 more. 3 more. 2 more. Yeah, last one. Nice job. Good. Bring that prop hand back down. Let's twist and bring our hands to the ground. Now you may feel a stretch in your torso. That's great. If your hands are too far in front, you're not going to get that stretch in your torso. I want you to try to push that a little bit. So bring your hands off to the side. Okay. 8 to 10 push-ups right here. Go for it. Elbows stay close and tighty. Kiss the ground and then push away. See if you can get that full range of motion. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, nice work. Some of you will be done with 8, 9, and 10. Nice job. We're gonna do one more cartwheel and side stretch over just to finish that out. One more cartwheel and side stretch over. Great job. Bring your hands behind you. And we're gonna kick those legs out in front. All right, this is called a back prop with our long sitting position. So legs out in front. Let's go ahead and point your toes and then flex your feet. Point your toes and flex your feet. Make your toes look like ballerina toes and then really active shins. There you go. Point and push. Point and push. All right, we're going to add the spine movement with this. So when you point, go ahead and flex and round the spine. You can bend your elbows and drop back a little bit. It kind of gets saggy. And then we're going to flex and lift the chest. You can even bring your heart open and move your eyes to the ceiling. There you go. Round through the spine, point and draw your abdominals in. Push through and extend your heart up towards the ceiling. Good. So you're going from two extremes. Bend and push. Flex your feet. Can you pair those two movements together? Can you get your feet and your spine to be working together? 2 more times. Drop and extend and lift. Nice job. Drop and extend and lift. Nice work. From here, can you bring yourself upright and not feel like you need to prop your hands back? Stretch forward as far as you can go. And then pull yourself back up. Again, stretch forward as far as you can go. And then pull yourself back up. One more time, stretch forward as far as you can go. And then bring it back up. Nicely done. Let's change our sitting position to a cross-legged position. So we're going to have the left leg, the left shin is going to be in front of the right. And remember, if this feels really tight and laborsome for you, you can put that pillow behind your bum. Okay, it'll lift your hips up a little bit and give you some more space if you're feeling tight. Okay, so if you're sitting and your legs are really like this and you have to kind of like hold on, that would be where I would say, okay, let's use a pillow. Life is already hard, don't make it harder. Okay, here we go. Shins are in front, right? Left shin is in front. We're going to take both hands on your knees, and then both hands are going to cast off to the right, similar to what we did with that twisted push-up. And then both hands on your knees and both hands to the right. We're going to stay going right. Both hands to your knees, both hands right. This is a skill more than like a strength. You're like, okay, Steph, I get it. It'll all build together, I promise. We're building to a movement where we come up to stand off the floor, okay? So bear with me. So we come here and then here. Bring your hands back behind you for a moment. We're gonna dorsiflex your feet and pull the knees together so that your feet go flat. And then release and just sort of go center. Good. Let's add a forward reach just to use our abs just a little bit more. Okay. Bring your hands back behind you. Pull the inner thighs together. Let them squeeze. Let them drape back open and then transition to that forward fold. Oh, that feels good on the hips, doesn't it? Bring it back. Squeeze the knees together. Good. We just repeat the same motion over and over again for practice. For those of us that move a little slower, I want to make sure that they have ample time to get a few reps in. Beautiful. Nice. One more time. And squeeze forward. Nice job. All right, we're going to switch your leg so that you have your, this would be your right leg in front, right here, your right shin. One side always feels funnier than the other. This one feels funny for me. So we're going to go hands on your thighs. Because this shin is in front, It's almost like our foot is pointing us to rotate to this side. Okay, and then back, touch, rotate, touch, rotate, touch, rotate, and touch. You got 2 more. Rotate and rotate. Simple, right? Just the skill and the coordination. Hands go back. Same thing as before. We squeeze. Make sure that your feet are active and working on the ground. Let them drape back open and then forward stretch. Good. Back, squeeze, drape, and forward stretch. Excellent. Back, squeeze, and forward stretch. Back, squeeze, and forward stretch. You got 2 more. Squeeze, forward stretch. Last one. Squeeze and forward stretch. Perfect. Nice job. Bring your hands behind you. I'm going to just turn and separate your feet. I'm going to take the pillow out too. Separate your feet so that your feet are now on the ground. Okay. So we did earlier, we did bridging on our backs, right? We did bridging, hip bridging. This is a crab bridge. So we're going to be propping through our hands. If this doesn't feel right for you for whatever reason, you can do bridging on the floor on your back, okay? So we're going to go from here. We're going to lift up our hips a little bit. See if you can lift them up a little further. And then one more level of extension. One more bit. Good. And then bring it down. Okay. So we're going to come up. More. And more. That's it. And then down. Here we go. Bridge. Up. And up. Nice job. And down. 2 more. Bridge. Press. Little higher. All the way up. Good. Nice job. Last one. We go bridge. Up. And up. Nicely done. And release. All right. Go ahead and sit in whatever position feels comfortable. And if you, yeah, I know those wrists, right? We're going to stretch those out. If you would like to do your wrist exercises in a kneeling position, if that's more comfortable for you than sitting on the floor, then we can switch to that, but doesn't matter. You do you, okay? We're gonna do a little bit of wrist exercises. Go ahead and bring your hands into a fist. We're gonna roll our wrists out. Try to make sure that it's not your elbows doing this thing, but like truly, like if you wanna squeeze your elbows in, so that way you're really working on your wrist joint. Good. So you're not working the elbow joint, right? We're doing wrists. Good. Switch the direction. There you go. Good. And then webbing of the finger stretch. So we're going to take thumbs, stretch the webbing. Peace sign. Stretch the webbing. Star Trek. Stretch the webbing. And pinkies. Stretch the webbing. Nice. And then I like to go all like villain. I guess this would be like the villain stretch, but doing a squeeze of all the webbing all together and kind of just pumping through your hands here. Okay. One last stretch for our thumbs. We're going to take one of our thumbs and try to traction out the tissue that's in the thumb pad here. That's called a thenar. And we're just going to be pushing that out. I'm kind of showing you in like a weird way. I would probably just do it like this if it were me, for myself. And then switch to the other side. One thumb in and pushing out on that thumb. When our hands are on the floor, we want them to spread out. We've talked about that with like our feet, like letting our feet be really wide and spread out. We want the same thing for our hands when our hands are supporting our body. Okay. Go ahead and come back down to the mat. Let's come back to that. Oh, we're going to come in hands and knees position. Excuse me. Hands and knees position. Good. I know some of us are having some foot and ankle issues, so you can do this either with your toes, like the laces down, the top of your foot down, or preferred and encouraged with the toes sort of tucked underneath. This primes your body for movement. It kind of tells your brain, okay, we're ready to go. Bring your hands out a little bit further. We're going to sit the hips back towards your heels. See if you can sit back while still keeping your eyes forward and a nice flat back. So your sit bones are going to be wide and you're sort of sticking your booty out behind you. Push off through your toes to bring your body forward over your wrists. And you're going to have some weight here. Maybe you even drop your hips down forward. It's going to be a big stretch on your wrists. Sit the hips back and then pounce forward, lower the hips down. Good. Working that forward back motion at a pace that makes sense for you. Now, this is different from like a restorative posture, right? Like child's pose. I want your eyes forward as if you were looking to try to go get something. We've talked about this before. Your grandchild, your baby grandchild that's like starting to learn how to crawl. It's like it sees that toy in front of you and in front of it. And it's like, I want to get that toy, but I don't know how to get there yet. So I'm just rocking. Good. 2 more here. And last one. Beautiful. Nice job. Bring your hips back, round your spine, and pull your body up into that high kneeling position. I like to think of it as like a zombie kind of coming up out of the swamp. All right, we're going to do the same thing in reverse. Drop your chin down, roll through, slide your hands out on the mat, and shift forward. We've done cat stretch before. This is slightly different, just whatever, different version. Sit the hips back, round your spine, let yourself sweep out of the swamp, 1 vertebrae at a time, pull your body and shoulders up. Good. Same thing in reverse. Drop the chin first, round through. It's like a body roll. Slide the hands forward and shift into your hands. 1 more time, please. Working on that transition of quadruped, or hands and knees, to tall kneeling. Good. Nice job. Hold here at the top of your tall kneeling. We're going to bring your right foot forward. So you're in this split kneeling or proposal stance. Now, options. You can either have one hand on your hip and your thigh and do some rocking work, or you can bring both hands to the ground. This is obviously going to require a bit more mobility. So whichever one works for your body. I'll show both. So you're going to slide back with your weight until your front leg is mostly straight. Bonus points if you get that dorsiflexion. Pull your body weight into that front leg and work the stretch on this back hip here. Okay, so it's like back dorsiflexion and forward hip flexor stretch. So if you're doing it just at a tall kneeling position, you go back and forward here. Okay. You can also do, if you have an intermediate, if you have a chair, you should bring a chair over. You could do this on a chair also. Okay. Yeah. You can do a little hybrid, like that, 1 hand on one hand on the other. Yeah. Just find some rocking and some stretch in those hips. A big long stride's good for your hips. Good. Maybe 1 or 2 more rocks. And beautiful. Now, if you have the mobility here, you're just going to keep your hands on the ground and switch the legs over. I'm going to show it with this version. So we'll tuck that leg back in and then bring the other leg back out, whichever way you want to make the switch. Nice. Okay, so either hands on the floor, hands on your hips, or some sort of hybrid. The idea is that we get this rocking in the long stride. So we're going to go forward, hip flexor stretch on this back leg, rock back, dorsiflexion. You'll get a hamstring stretch here on this front leg. So we go forward and back. Good. Again, hands on the floor or on your hips. Ooh, this side's a little different. Nice. Good. Teresa, can you go wider stride? Like pull your back leg back behind you a bit more. Like do the split. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Maybe 2 more there. And then go ahead and tuck that leg back in, however you want to tuck it back in. We will be back on hands and knees here. Yeah. How are the wrists doing, Todd? Are you with me? Okay. I know. These first couple kind of get the wrist going, but once you get that resilience in the weight bearing, you build it up. Okay, good. We're all good. Go ahead and tuck your toes if that feels right for you. Okay. If this doesn't feel right, Carrie, let me know and I can give you an alternative option. Okay. So right here, you're going to shift forward into your hands and we're going to float your knees off the ground a few inches. Try not to go too high, just a little float. Bring the knees back down and then shift your hips back. Carrie, give me a thumbs up if that was okay, or a thumbs down if you need something else. Okay, good. So we're going to shift forward into the wrist. Hover the knees up. There's a lot of work in core and quad. Knees come down and then shift back. Nice job. A lot of shoulder work, a lot of wrist work. Forward. Hover. That's it. Knees down and shift back. Try to keep your knees bent so that we're not quite going in a plank fully. So we're going to go forward, hover, knees down and shift back. Nice job. Forward, hover, knees down, shift back. 2 more. Forward, hover, knees down, shift back. Last one, forward, hover, hold. Now let's straighten up those legs and shift your bum back a little bit. It's like down dog or A-frame. Shift back forward into your hands, knees drop down, and then shift back. Let's go ahead and sit back on those heels or in a high kneeling and a quick wrist roll, shake out the wrists. How are we doing? Good? Let's do a quick intermission off of the wrists. Let's sit down on your sit bones and bring the legs out in front. And this is going to be a no hands challenge. So you can either interlace your fingers or have your hands out like little outriggers. Of course, if you need to use your hands a little bit, do what you need to do for today. Slide your legs over to the side. Bump your hips either on top or come up into high kneeling. Slide your legs out the other side. Take a seat. The legs come back out in front of you. This is egg beater. We go legs to the side, they fold in. Either bump your hips across in a low kneeling, or you can come all the way up into high. And then the legs come around to the other side. Good. Keep going in the same direction for just a few more repetitions or for a little bit longer time. And again, of course, if you need to use your hands for like a little bit of just like little tap, please do that. Nice work, team. Good. We're gonna do one more in that direction, one more in that same direction. Again, yours is probably gonna look different than mine. That's okay. Just play with it. Good. Okay, let's try the other direction. Is it easier? Let's see. I think that side's harder for me. Good. Egg beater around. The legs move around. I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna come down. And you can see that in these transitional movements, these skills, the mobility training is built into it, right? You're both increasing your flexibility and your skills and your coordination all at the same time. That's what I love about this work. Multitasking at heart. Let's do 2 more in this direction. See how much dog hair you can get on your leggings. Huh? Very nice. And back down. Good. Okay. We're going to cross the legs over or somehow transition into hands and knees. Somehow transition. I just chose that transition for right now. So if you want to be with me, do that transition here or somehow make the change. Okay, we're going to go back into the rocking knee hover to A-frame. We're adding on that last bit. So dorsiflex your feet, tuck your toes, and shift your hips back. Arms out a little bit. Weight shifts forward into your wrists, knees hover. Don't forget that step. Push your arms, push through your arms to get your hips to go back a little bit and come into that full A-frame. Good. We'll shift back forward into our hands, knees come down and shift the hips back. I want you to be mindful about all of that shifting. Shift forward, knee hover, push back for A-frame. Good shoulder work. Shift back forward, knees drop, and hips go back. Excellent. Shift forward, knee hover, push back to A-frame. Shift forward, knees down, and shift back. Yes, 2 more cycles. Shift forward, knee hover, A-frame. Good. Shift forward, knees down, shift back. Awesome. Shift forward, knee hover, A-frame. Push, push, push through those shoulders. Shift forward, knees down, and shift back. Great job. Go ahead and side sit and transition into your crab bridge. Crab bridge. We're still on our wrists. We're still going. All righty. We're not going to be quite in our crab bridge quite yet, but bring your feet out a little bit so there's some space between your heel and your sit bones. Take your left leg and thread it underneath and see if you can get that leg to go sort of roughly flat on the ground. Good. From here, so let's see, your left leg threaded under, so your right arm is going to come up and come forward onto the mat. And now you're in that twisted push-up. Give me a push-up. Press up. That right arm is going to come back behind you and you'll sort of cartwheel yourself back and replant the foot. Okay, let's do the same side just so we stay consistent. Left leg threads underneath. I know I'm a little backwards on the screen, I know. Right arm's going to come up, twirl around. 1 push-up off the ground. That feels okay. Arm's going to cartwheel back behind you and then replace the foot. Nice work. Here we go. Thread, up, push up, and back home to here. Now, adding on a level, if you want to do this roughly with the leg hips slightly lifted, you're going to thread, you sort of cartwheel, you can just come into your hands and knees, and then thread back and sit down. Okay, that was the add-on level. I know that was a lot. If that's for you, take it. If not, go back to the original one where we just thread, cartwheel, and push up. Okay, let's do one more of whatever version you're doing. Thread, cartwheel, and push up, and return. Nice job. Stretch forward so that you shake out your wrists. 5. And then go ahead and get into your crab on the other, getting into your crab. I just switched sides so I can still watch you. We're just going to do the other side. Okay, so feet out a little bit. Right leg now is going to thread underneath. The leg goes flat. Left arm comes up and cartwheels around. Hands come to the ground. Push up off the floor and then lifted, cartwheel over, unravel, plant the foot. Awesome. Good. Thread, cartwheel, drop in, push off, cartwheel around, and place. Nice. Good. Bill, try to be on your hands, not your elbow. That right hand. Yep. Now, if you wanted to do the little booty lift one, it would be leg threads underneath. You got to kind of get that toe underneath you so that the knees can hover when you come into hands and knees, and then you lower down. And then you sort of hover and replace and come back. Yeah. So thread first, whichever way you're doing it, it's a thread. And then you can twist. There you go, Francesca. Good. And then bring it back. Nice job. Okay. Legs out in front, forward fold stretch. How are we doing? Got like 2 or 3 more minutes. Almost there. Okie doke. So we're going to put a little bit of that all together. What, that doesn't make sense. We're going to put that all together. All the pieces that we worked on today, we're going to bring it all together into a movement. Let's have your left leg in front here in your cross-legged position. Okay, we worked on this one where we twisted off to the side. I said, this is a skill, it's going to come back. Okay, we're going to twist off to the side, and I want you to squeeze the thighs together so that your feet are on the ground. Good. Now from here, keeping your hands on the ground, so no elbows, Bill. We're going to push your bum up towards the ceiling. You're going to be in an A-frame. Look at that. Okay, this is where it gets tricky. Spiral in reverse of what you just did. So you're going to spiral through the balls of the feet, sit your bum down, and hands come to your knees. Let the blood kind of figure itself out. If you got a little blood rush, no big deal. We went upside down and then we went right back up. Okay, take your time. We still have our left leg in front, correct? That means we're going to go right. Hands come to the ground. Squeeze your thighs together and get onto the balls of your feet. Push your bum up, A-frame. Good. You shouldn't be twisted by the time you get there. Nice job. And then spiral through the balls of your feet, bum comes down, and then hands come to your knees. Again, let that blood sort of like resettle. Okay, we're going to do that 3 more times. Twist, balls of your feet, push up to A-frame. Lots of work in the shoulders. Nice work, team. Good, good. Spiral back down. Hands to knees. Awesome. 2 more. Alana, you with me? Yeah? Here we go. Hands, push, booty up. Booty up, booty up, booty up. That's it. Spiral and take a seat back down. Last one. Twist, push off. And then back down and release. Nice job. Legs out in front, forward stretch. Now, if at any point that did not make sense for you, just work on the cross-legged like twist portion, and I'll show that in a second. Okay, we're going to do the other side. So that means we have right leg in front. So if the whole thing was a little bit much for you, just work on this component here of like getting yourself in position and then sitting back. Okay, or if you get dizzy easily, don't worry about doing the whole thing. Just work on that first skill. All right, so we have right leg in front. We're going to twist left. We're going to go 5 times total. Here we go. Take your time. We go hands off to the side. Get on the balls of your feet. Push through, bums up. There we go. Twist through your knees, bums down, hands on thighs. There we go. 1 motion. Okay, you got 4 more opportunities. Hands, squeeze, ball of the feet, push up. There we go. Sometimes a sticky yoga mat is tricky. And return. Nice. Twist. Push through the balls of the feet, drive up. Nice work. Bring it down and reset. 2 more, yeah? Twist, push, drive. And down. Last one. Twist, push, drive. Look upside down and in and release. Nice job. Shake it out. All right, let's have you come into the seated position that you started with at the very beginning of class. I think I was butterfly stretch. Yeah. So whichever position you were at the beginning of class, I let you choose. Some of you did. If you don't remember, just pick another. Just pick anything. Cross-legged. This is called a Taylor sit or a butterfly sit. This has actually a lot of different names. Got long sitting, knee sit, side sit, lots of options. Okay. Take a moment, close your eyes. Notice your feet on the floor. How do they articulate with the ground? Notice your pelvis. Which part of your pelvis is working with the floor? Is it the front part, the back part? Right side, left side? And noticing your hips. Do they feel different from when we started? Do you feel yourself gripping, or can you relax into it? And how's your spine? Do you feel yourself slumped, or can you pull yourself a little bit more upright, a bit easier? Do you need your hands to hold you? And then bringing yourself into your breath. Where does the air fill in your body? A deeper breath may convey a more stacked posture, more settled nervous system, a looser rib cage. Take a moment to replay some of the skills that we did in class today. Which ones were challenging? Which ones felt really good in your body? One more breath into the nose and out through the mouth. Nice job. I'm going to turn off the recording. If you have anything you want to share with the group or with me or questions, I have a few minutes before my next